A very pleasant evening to each and every one of us. Good to have you tonight again. Apostolic Roundtable is a communion of ministry gifts and all church leaders trying to bring us together to pull aside our denominational differences and see things from the prism of our oneness in Christ, and bringing to the knowledge of the individual believer what their rights are within the context of their nation of existence. Once again, I welcome you to National Conversation at the Apostolic Roundtable. The topic tonight is General Yakubu Gowon, Obidient movement and its implication to Igbo demand for civil war apology and the resurgent Fulani killings in the Benue or in the Middle Belt. With me on the quizzing side is Cynthia. She holds a degree in economics and she's pushing for a master's degree in media and communication. Cynthia, you're welcome on board tonight.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Well, I will leave the platform for Cynthia to let us know who are on the hot seat tonight.
Good evening, everyone. So here tonight we have with us Mr. Samuel Achie, who is the National President of the Atiap Community Development Association. We have Mr. Francis Demina, who is an author and academia specializing in Middle Belt affairs. We also have with us Mr. Rangpam Jr., who is the former chairman of the People's Progressive Alliance, and he's also the spokesperson of the Southern and Middle Belt Alliance. And finally, we have Mr. Dr. Wankwo Tony Wazigwe, who is a combatant political historian in the transactional history and diplomacy and ethno-religious conflicts at the Institution of African Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He's an academician and the Odogu of Ibusa in Delta State. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I'd like to fire the first question from here.
Hello?
You can virtually see the mics that are giving us challenges.
Yes, Akim Bobola Odeyanle, please mute yourself. Yes, Akim Bobola, please.
Akim Bobola and Techno Pop 6.
Yeah.
Who is using Techno Pop 6? Go, please. Okay. Dr. Tony.
Yes.
Like they say, different stroke for different folks. When I first heard about the invitation extended to General Gowon by my friend and brother, Alex Oti, I was elated and excited because for me, it's the beginning of relationship long overdue to build back the integration needed between the Southeast and the rest of the country. Not until the twist coming from the PDP in Abia State, and of course, the IPOB in the Southeast. Dr. Tony, ignorance is a major problem in Nigeria. Will you bring to context the issue that we are considering tonight vis-a-vis the role of General Gowon during the Nigerian Civil War? Do you see him as deserving the invitation, or it should be denied, like we have seen come from the IPO and PDP in historical context? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bolaji Akinyemi. I think the problem with the Nigerian Civil War is that of under-researched, understudied, and misunderstood by a lot of people who often rest their conclusions on sentiments. Unfortunately, when you look at, if you go through the text of those who wrote on Nigerian Civil War, find out much of the scholars that actually, provided the in-depth analysis of what transpired during the Civil War were foreign authors, like Green, Ruth First, and quite a number of them. No single Nigerian historian has actually written on the progress of the Civil War, and of course, much of what we have read from the actors are really first-hand information based on their own observation, like Bembulia writing, like Ademo Ayega writing, like Obasanjo writing. All these ones, they only saw it, and most of them we actually commanders, armchair combatants, so they were not actually in the forefront. They were also not part of the policy making that led to the Civil War. And you don't interpret the Civil War based or just on one perspective. Gowon, if you look at the progress of the Civil War, you will see many stages that led to the Civil War. The 1962 conflict, the 1952, let me begin by 25th of September, 1962 Western Regional Crisis that led to the declaration of a state of emergency on May 29th. The arrest of Awolowo. You had you had the Tiv riots of 1959, 1960-61. You also had the discredited national census. Then the coup. For one, let me start for the first time. That Gowon was not privy, to the coup that ousted Aguiyi-Ironsi. And for people to, Gowon was just emerged as a candidate of convenience to forestall the plan of the caliphate. So he was a child of circumstances. And I want to state, and I have reason to say that if Gowon had not taken the position of head of state, the Igbo people shouldn't have been what they are today. They should have been exterminated. So Gowon did a lot within his own, command, disadvantaged position as a head of state to make sure that the Igbo people are preserved. And let me start by May 29th, when Aguiyi-Ironsi was killed. July 29th, when there was a coup. In fact, that from that July, for 3 days, there was no government in Nigeria. It was August 1st, 1966, that General Gowon actually took power. The question is, what was transpiring between that period, July 29th and August, 1st? Most people don't know this thing. First, there was the issue of Baba Femi Ogundipe
I go feel no after go run the parole.
not being able to take power as the most
The one
senior
now
commander.
come sleep for another person wey sing go home.
Yes. Jola, please help us. Then secondly, there was the issue of contest of political power between the Middle Belt soldiers who dominated the rank and file and the Northern Caliphate, led by Murtala Mohammed, then a major, whose uncle, Wadanas, Mohammed Mohammed Tudu Wada, was the first minister and also the NPC treasurer who actually sponsored the coup and wanted Murtala Mohammed to take over to be the leader, the new head of state. Until the Middle Belt officer said no. Under the head of Colonel Akahan from Tiviland, who was even later killed by the Caliphate through the blowing up of his helicopter when he was traveling from Katsina La Hisonta to Makrudu under the conspiracy of Camp Salem to make sure that the Middle Beltans were not there. He took over. That was how Gowon came in. Sorry. So Gowon did not just emerge. Gowon was not part of throughout the coup. Gowon was under house arrest, instigated by Murtala Mohammed. He was not part of it. The main people who actually carried the July 29th, 1966 coup were Murtala Mohammed as the leader. Then Danjuma. These were the people. Then Akahan now came in. So you check it that Gowon was a child of circumstance. Secondly, Gowon never wanted to fight the civil war against Igbo because as American intelligence report clearly stated, he said, how can we fight this? They are our brothers. And if you look at the pogrom, you find that the pogrom did not take much in the Middle Belt, except when it was discovered that much of the people who were even killed were Middle Beltans. Middle Beltans. You talk of Palm, you talk of even the man from Southern Borno, Christians. So they had reason to even institute their problem, to react, but they did not react. Let us even check when the war. Ojukwu declared Ojukwu declared the state of Biafra on May 30th, 1967. Between that May 30th, for 6 weeks, there was no counterattack by the federal government because Gowon did not want to fight Biafra. For 6 weeks, a month and a half. Secondly, Gowon was having an Igbo fiancé living with him right there in his house. So how could Gowon have gone out to fight Igbo? He sent delegates to Ojukwu, people like Marere, people like Awolowo, to convince Ojukwu for them to settle the matter.
So, how do you think the recent
it was after 6 weeks that after all efforts to come Ojukwu failed, that they went into that Nigerian troops went into the war, but not without forcing Gowon to transfer his fiancée, Igbo fiancée, to Germany, and then brought Victoria for him to marry. That was how the war started. So Gowon actually did not want to fight the war. And Gowon was very, very clear in the declaration of the war. He said, don't touch the people. They go after your colleagues, the army.
Excuse me, sir.
If you look at the massacres that took place, like the Murtala Mohammed massacring our people at Asa, over 2,000 people massacred. Buhari massacring people in Nsoka zone, over 1,000 people massacred in a day. These two people were not in good light with Gowon. And these are the same people who plan to remove Gowon from power. So Gowon.
Thank you so much, Odogu. Thank you for the light.
Understand the trajectories of the Nigerian history before we arrive, at a conclusion without sentiment attached.
Thank you very much, Odogu. Cynthia, I believe you want to roll from this background. Now that we know a bit of balance has been brought to the history, Who is the next person you want to put your question across to? You have the floor, Cynthia.
I would also ask Dr. Wanko how you think the recent attack on him by Abia State PDP is in the interest of the Igbo people in Nigeria today. How does that interest us as Igbo people?
I think the Abia, even from the angle where the call was coming, you find that the PDP in Abia State was is not presently serving the Igbo interests. They are serving Fulani interests. And the idea, the plan was to create a confusion, a division between the Igbo and the Middle Belt within this new marriage that brought nearly all the parts of Nigeria under Obidient movement. So how would they explain that they are serving the interests of the Igbo when majority of the Middle Belt voted for Peter Obi in the last general election? And then one of the major figures of the Middle Belt, they are trying to stop him from coming home. Nobody's talking about those who instigated pogroms and killed the Igbo and continue killing the Igbo. The same PDP and aligning with them, the Fulani and Atiku and other people, whose people killed us, killed the Igbo, 1966, 1967, and even continue to kill the Igbo under, through their Fulani attacks and so on and so forth. None of them have even come out to call for the, to condemn or call for the prosecution of the Igbo Christians who are dining and whining with their killers. Such people as Ojo Zokalo, Okorocha, Pope Usodema, and among them. So it is, they're acting cowardly by just pointing at Gowon, who is coming to pray. Prayer for their people. If they're actually Christians and they're speaking for the interest of the Igbo people, then they shouldn't have pinpointed Gowon as their victim or their target of attack. So they are not at any rate, in any form, in any manner, speaking for Igbo people, but for their selfish interests as agents of the caliphate in Igbo land.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Tony. My next question will go to Francis Damina, who is from Southern Kaduna, an author, a seminarian with interest in religion and politics. What do you have to say about the topic that we have this evening?
Thank you so much, Yami.
I guess.
Okay, I think Mr. Damina, your speech is dragging.
Hello, Francis. I think we have to go to Mr. Palm. In the context of what we have heard and in line with the subject of our discussion, what is the insight you are bringing to it? Is this the time for us to start pitching the Southeast against the people from the Middle Belt? Or this is the time for us to build the lands to rise up against our common enemy? We hope that Francis will get a better network and we'll be able to hear from him. But for now, can we have Mr. Palm, please?
Thank you very much, our honorable anchor.
Hello,
Hello.
I can hear you, sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Rang Pam Jr., actually Prince Rang Pam Jr. At the beginning of the Civil War, I was not born yet. But history has a way of going down within our African traditions. I'm the grandchild of the first Bongom of Jos, late Darang Pam, who was the head of the traditional council of the former. One thing I'd like to say before moving into your question proper is, we have it from within the family that on the eve of the commencement of this unfortunate massacre, all traditional rulers within the then so-called North were called to Kaduna for a meeting, which was then the regional headquarters of the country. And they were instructed to commence the killing of the Igbos, and the Igbos are the enemies. My grandfather, late Bongom of Jos, Dar Rangpam, came back to Jos, got his official car, then it was a Range Rover, and a megaphone. After speaking with his council, went round Jos personally with the aid of the then Commissioner of Police, Salotadi. Then they were wearing quarter trousers. Moved around from street to street, announcing publicly that to the Igbos, this is the plan they have against you. He reiterated during the council meeting in Kaduna that there cannot be bloodshed in land. So while back in Jos, he advised the Igbos that he lacked the capacity to protect them because as a traditional ruler, he doesn't have an army or an arsenal. So buses were organized and Igbo people were moved en masse. Said I wasn't born then, but by 1980s, my uncle came to contest for councillorship. And we went to Vandapuya, Apata. It's a street. Apata, of course, is a name from the south. Was predominantly occupied by our Igbo brothers. And we told them our intention as a young man then. Then they said, because of what our grandfather did to them and preserve the land of Igbos in his territory by the grace of God, they will offer their seat and support him 100%. And by the grace of God, that was how he became the councillor for a strictly Igbo area in gratitude. So, having said that, the issue of having a bias towards the middle belt is rather a blanket statement without due consideration of some of the ins panel are hearing this. But I know it because I'm in the family and we have pictures to that effect. So now we have a national emergency, which is the intentional genocide of Christians within the Middle Belt. Our elders and forebearers, people like J.S. Tucker, Canaan Chief, and a host of others. They gave their lives for that cause, to have a middle belt, independent of the law, because of discrimination. The discrimination today has graduated into outright extermination in the presence and probably the backing of the Fulani government. Now, the time to be diplomatically correct has passed, because people who have kept quiet with knowledge of what is happening, people who have kept quiet while atrocities are committed have died. So what's the point of keeping quiet with truth and the ability to safeguard yourself, your children, your community by saying the truth? So this is a place
Hello?
thinking about a disparity or division between middle belts and our brothers in the Southeast particularly is a political distraction. It is an intentional political distraction, and it is aimed at watering down the Obidient movement. Peter Obi is a human being, an entity, who happens to speak for the generality of masses of Nigeria. He was the only presidential candidate who had something to offer tangibly, apart from maybe Al-Mustafa, who said things, brought up revelations that were credible and verifiable. But in terms of policies, in terms of speaking the mind of the people of Nigeria who are tired, it was only Peter Obi who was doing that. Peter Obi did not go around to campaign state to state before he had support. Because we don't have a National Assembly, they are not only a rubber stamp, they are cohorts while our people are being killed. If there was a National Assembly, they would have stood up and spoken for us on almost all issues. We don't have appointments in this government. We don't have protection from this government. We don't have resources from this government. And they are quiet. They have salaries. So we don't have the National Assembly to protect us. The executive is definitely not on our side. Even when the church went to meet President Buhari as Khan and PFM, he told them to go and pray about the security situation. Can you imagine that? So the only person who brought up solutions that were tangible was Peter Obi, who said what the masses want. In fact, he was the one representing us. He hadn't spoken about security in details, but yes, at least we'll have opportunities to start producing. At least we'll have opportunities to start sending our children to school without fear. We have a hope that we can go back to our farms and cultivate our crops and feed our children. So bringing out the issue of Gowon don't come to the south is to pray is a distraction. I believe, don't say it is perfect. I believe that it is perpetuated by people who hate the obedient movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Palm. Cynthia, I know you are raring to throw your next question at Mr. Samuel, and so let me give you that right before we come to Francis Damina. I hope that Francis' microphone is okay now and the reception is good. But let's have Mr. Samuel. Cynthia, what's the question for him?
Mr. Samuel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Cynthia.
Okay. So looking at the killings in the Middle Belt, do you think the Middle Belt can accommodate a call for national unity without proper security measures to protect the lives in the region?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you at this evening. I hope we are together.
We are together.
Thank you. The truth of the matter is that two things lead to what is being sustained in the Middle Belt now. That is the spite of killings. Number one of those things is injustice being meted by a section of the region and some citizens of the place. And then secondly, the government insensitivity to this killing and the nonchalant attitude of government to this killing. And I want to say this, as it were, no matter what happens, a citizen will always remain a citizen. And whether government likes it or not, the Constitution had given them a responsibility, and that responsibility is to protect the lives and properties of its citizens. And the moment government don't do that responsibility, then it means something is wrong somewhere. And in the situation we find ourselves, particularly in the southern part of Kaduna. The southern part of Kaduna has been a very peaceful region. We have lived and lived together with our fellow Fulanis and the Hausas peacefully, not until the advent of the present administration in 2015, then the situation became deteriorated. And what comes about that? A once peaceful region was immersed into spies of killings. Now the question somebody will ask, why the sudden spate of killings? The killings become very inevitable because our Fulani brothers and the Hausas now believe that they have a government that is actually sympathetic to them, a government that have came right from day one and said it was coming to deal with the Southern Kaduna people, a government that came and said that even the chiefdoms that were created in Southern Kaduna that gave the Southern Kaduna people an autonomy was a mistake in the first place. A government that feel that they can go about and rule the state without anybody from Southern Kaduna. But the question is, who owns the land? History has it that every people have ancestral belongings. And the land of Southern Kaduna is majorly owned by the people of Southern Kaduna. And I want to be specific to my own domain, that is the Atiap Community Development Association, which is one of the largest tribes in Southern Kaduna. It will interest you to know that Southern Kaduna have 58 ethnic nationalities, including the Atiap in question. And all these ethnic nationalities are predominantly Christian. And actually, the owners of the ancestral land in that region. You see, before 2015, there were threats of killing. But during the government of the PDP in 1998, during Obasanjo, the then governor of Kaduna State, Ahmed Makarfi, set a committee co-chaired by the Anglican, the Catholic Bishop of Kaduna and Sheikh Lemu. And that committee brought up a very wonderful report and said that for these killings to stop, there is need to give the Southern Kaduna political and cultural autonomy. And that led to the creation of chiefdoms in Southern Kaduna. These chiefdoms were well celebrated. These chiefdoms were established. And let me tell you, particularly the chiefdom in question, where these killings have been on a daily occurrence, even as I'm talking to you now, there is an ongoing attack in one of the villages this night as I'm talking to you. And that chiefdom was created with 15 districts. But today, when the government in power now came in Kaduna State, they reduced those districts to only 2. And today, a certain governor who has the power to ensure security of life and property of his citizens is now shifting blame to the traditional ruler for not curtailing the excesses of the youth. Now the question is, does a traditional ruler has control over the police? Does a traditional ruler has control over the soldiers? Now, a chiefdom that have 15 districts and you reduce it to 2, do you think that 2 district heads can be able to go around and ensure peace in districts that were supposed to be 15? It is absolutely not possible. Now, since the spread of this killing, there have been soldiers in southern Kaduna everywhere. And let me tell you, my brothers and my sisters, that these killings in southern Kaduna are taking place under the watch of the Nigerian army. In fact, in most of these places that are attacked, none of the village is away from a military checkpoint to the point of up to 2 kilometers. None. They are within 1 kilometer and 1.5. But in all these killings, it will interest you to know that these soldiers that are kept in our land are being kept and sponsored with taxpayers' money. But up to today and up to this time that I'm talking to you, they have not been able to arrest or pick one killer of our people. Rather, they come when attacks are
Joy,
going on
please. Joy,
and wait.
please.
Are we together?
Joy, iPhone. Joy, please mute yourself. Joy.
Are we together?
Yeah.
I have heard. I'm trying to mute it. I can't. It's not opening. I'm doing that. I know what to do. Don't worry.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, what's wrong with this connection, Seth?
Okay.
Are we together?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Clearly.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
So now, as I was saying, so you can now begin to imagine that for 8 years going now, that soldiers have been there, killings are going on, and the soldiers have not been able to,
What's wrong with
at
this?
one point or the other, lay hands on the killers of the people. Now, the question you begin to ask, what is happening? Are they under instruction not to arrest, even when they see the Fulani hazards walking around with AK-47 hung on their shoulders? Or is it that they are sent there to come and actually supervise the killings of our people? And that is why, as a region, we have come to the conclusion that the soldiers are not there to protect us. And for that, we are desiring that they be moved out of our land. Let our people be allowed to take their fate in their hands.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Thank you so much for your talk on this. I think it's a good landing for you. We have another man, another guest who is from Southern Kaduna, who I believe will be able to corroborate what you're saying or disagree with you. But I want us to understand the thought and the direction of the meeting tonight. We are interested in the reactions of the IPOB and the PDP Abia states attempting to stop Gowon from coming to pray for the new government starting in Abia state. Vis-a-vis attempts that are being made to drowse the influence of the Obidient movement, and of course the resurgent killing of Christians and in the Christian community of Middle Belt. The need for us to situate the problem properly and not get distracted is the reason why we are discussing tonight. I want to bring on Francis Damina, who is a student, like he would like to describe himself, a student of religion and politics. Francis Damina, you have the floor.
We investigated a school that homicide detectives might use, and I want to see their reaction when they see each other.
Sounds like they don't know them. First, I have to tell me no, this isn't true.
The look is, please don't say anything. I hope you're not saying anything. Detective Selmer sits down.
Dr. Bolaji, what is happening to your guests?
I don't know. His phone is beeping. I guess it's the network in Zangon, Qatar. I really would have loved to. Okay, Cynthia, over to you. Ask the next question.
Guys, that they weren't anywhere near the murder.
Well, I have one more question for Dr. Wankwo. Dr. Wankwo, can you hear me?
Clearly.
Okay. How could General Yakubu be held accountable for the Nigerian Civil War? Should he be held accountable for it?
Can you repeat, please?
I said, how could General Yakubu be held accountable for the Nigerian Civil War? Do you think he should be held accountable for it?
Well, the circumstances that led to the Civil War were beyond his control.
Okay.
The circumstances that followed the conduct of the Civil War were beyond his control. He was just the symbolic head. And even the activities, the internal dynamics of the Biafran state itself were such that it was even impossible for anybody to say Gowon, should be held accountable. So the point is that most people, most Igbo people who try to to drum up the accusation of Gowon being accountable for the Civil War also forgot the dynamic aspect of what transpired in Biafra. How Nnamdi Azikiwe and Ojukwu had some conflicts over how to end the Civil War. After Nnamdi Azikiwe had written the Biafran national anthem and brought in the countries, the African countries and Haiti that actually provided the Biafran state diplomatic recognition. And then he decided to defer to the Nigerian side.
So do you think he should have given has there been any public apology?
No, I don't think Gowon needs to give any. Gowon has nothing to apologize. He
has nothing to apologize for.
He has no basis to apologize.
Dr. Tony,
yeah?
Dr. Tony,
yeah?
I think we need to situate your position very well, sir. We need some measure of clarity on that.
Okay.
Gowon at that time was the military head of state. Was he also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces? If he was the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, how do we say that he was not in charge of his troop?
Yes. No. Yes, I'm trying to situate Gowon's role as commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief then, Gowon was not a dictator. He ruled. He ruled with the, in concert with Supreme Military Council. And if you also look at what transpired, you found that there were many peace attempts by the then Organization of African Unity in Ethiopia, in Kampala, and even in Tunisia, in Tunisia, to settle this matter. The OAU intervened to settle this matter. The issue is why was OAU not able to settle the matter amicably? You have to look at it too. Who was responsible? Was it Gowon or Ojukwu that was responsible for the failure of OAU to intervene? Was it Gowon that was responsible for Ojukwu for Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe to now back out from Biafra? Was it Gowon that was responsible for the arrest and detention of Hilary Njoku, the first army commander the first, army commander, the first commander of Biafran Armed Forces. And a lot of conflicts. Was he Gowon that also responsible for the killing of Ifajuna, Alele, and others for coup? So then, was he Gowon that also responsible for those who were giving money, who were giving money to purchase arms, like Mogi, who was Ojukwu's cousin, Ojukwu's uncle, who was giving arms, and giving money to purchase arms for Biafra overseas, and he absconded with the money. So there are a lot for us to talk of the internal growth of the Biafran themselves, of Igbo people in the conduct of the Civil War, before pointing at Gowon. So Gowon has his own side of apology, being the head, the symbolic head of the federal truth. Sorry, because whatever that takes place, and people say you don't leave the tongue, to skip the arm. The tongue must be chosen. So there's every reason that Gowon should also be held accountable for the Civil War. But I believe that Gowon cannot be held accountable for the Civil War in isolation of the roles of the Igbo, of those who conducted the Biafran side itself. So it should be two-way. We can't always be thinking of the of the external factor. Then looking at the internal factor. As Igbo will always say, when you use your one finger to point at you, the other four fingers are pointing at you. So I'm not trying to exonerate Gowon, but from the whole crisis. But I also believe equity and justice to take place. Lawyers will tell you that yes, that who seeks equity must come with clean hand. The Igbo should also look at those. Also look at those factors that led to the fall of Biafra. Biafra did not fall just because of the firepower of the federal government. It fell because of the internal sabotage of the Igbo people in Biafra, in the battle area, and that is still happening today by the by people such as Odus Okalo, Obonayakano, Ngige, Hope Usori, and so forth. The same thing that led Biafra to people like Chimaroke, Naman. The same thing that led to the collapse of Biafra is still transpiring today. It's still playing back today as we are living. So I don't think one should be IPOB and their group. The PDP, just focus internally and look at look at the real enemies of the people. Because the Igbo will say, if the war does not kill a man, the external war cannot.
Dr. Tony, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes.
And then after that question, I will expect that Dr. Augustine Agugua, whose hand has been up for almost about 15-20 minutes now, we ask his question, or if it's a comment you want to make. But this is my question.
Yes.
Even President Muhammadu Buhari, who has been, like the public will say, deaf and dumb since 2015, came around recently to say that he wants Nigerians that they have offended to please forgive him. Now, in the light of that, don't you think it's not out of place, given the nature of the Christian faith, to expect that General Gowon will offer his apology, even for his minimal role during the Nigerian Civil War? After your response, Dr. Augustine Agugua will take the floor, after which I will take other persons whose hands are up. Thank you, Dr. Tony.
Thank you very much. A young man was once asked by his father to name the 10 most corrupt countries in Africa. The young man named other countries without mentioning Nigeria. Then the father asked him, does it mean that Nigeria was not corrupt, or Nigeria is not corrupt? I mentioned 10. He answered his father, look, when you are counting sinners, you count Satan as a sinner. If you are not mentioned, you can't, because Satan itself is sin. It is ridiculous that Buhari will be talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness on what basis? Forgiveness on the basis that when he took power in 2015, the Naira was changing at 222 naira to $1, and now the same naira is changing at 750 naira to $1. Is it telling us about forgiveness about the killings that is taking place before he entered, during his period, and even as we are talking now? Is he asking for forgiveness for the killings that are going on or the killings that will continue? I think most of us misquote the Christian faith, and that is why people like us have taken the concept of an African Christian. I'm an African Christian. Not Roman Catholic, not Anglican, not a bit. I'm an African Christian, and my Christianity must be founded on the threshold of African moral principles. So you cannot tell me because you're a Christian, the Bible says when somebody slaps you by the other one cheek, you also slap the person by the other one cheek. You bring your other cheek. You find that when he gives you one slap, and you expect the next time your neck will be off. You look at it, and that's what you should have asked. Why didn't Jesus Christ jump down from the temple, where from the high whatever, when the devil asked him to jump down? Why did he have to use whip to flog some people? When Agar was begging Samuel, when Saul brought him, oh, forgive the bitterness of, why didn't Samuel forgive him? Why did Samuel have to deal with him? So Buhari has no basis to ask for forgiveness. And as I've said earlier, that man there is not Buhari, and I repeat it, it's a man from Niger Republic. And you could see the drum beat of his movement that he's going to live close to, he's going to live close to Niger Republic. And when it becomes hot to him, he will move to Niger Republic. For those who have known the history of real Muhammad Buhari, has Muhammad Buhari ever had any inclination with Niger Republic? Muhammad's inclination has been Borno, where his mother came from, and Daura, where he came from. Nothing like that. And never will real Muhammad Buhari talk of Niger, talk of leaving Nigeria if he were alive. So let us forget it. Sooner or later, as our people say, the wind will blow the tail of the fowl, and we'll see the buttocks. So no question of forgiveness.
I was expecting that Dr. Augustine Agugwa will take the floor, but he has left. Can we have Mr. Joshua Agbadu? Are you asking the question, or you are? Okay, Mr. Joshua Agbadu, why Alex Mana will please hold on.
At the point of recognition, I know what my hand.
Thank you very much, Bola, for convening this meeting. I suggest we have more of this, even as we chart our ways as Christians.
Techno, please help us. Sorry. Techno Pope 6 Go, please help us. The interference is coming from you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I want to make a comment on the issue of Gowon. The noise at the background is still there. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay. I want to make a comment on the issue of Gowon. We are Christians, and the Christian faith teaches us to forgive. I'm sure if Gowon were in the place of authority now, with all that is happening, with our borders freely open to our killers to come in without visas to come in and kill Christians that way, I'm sure he would have behaved differently. Having said that, it is only good enough for us to forgive him and then forge ahead together. Personally, I have this feeling that one of the challenges we are having and will continue to have is that we have been intermarried with a group of people that we do not have the same ideology. Why our cardinal faith is based on the God of love, theirs is based on jihad and taking over. I feel we have very little that we share in common. They marry multiple wives to have more children in every generation so as to conquer and overrun us. We as Christians do not believe in such. Therefore, I believe it's high time we as Christians in Nigeria should bury the hatchet, forgive our wrongs. I'm from Benue State, and I know very well that we were being deceived of the one Nigeria. And we were fighting to keep one Nigeria together. I'm sure His Excellency Nadia Azikiwe, if we were alive now, sure he wouldn't be talking of the one Nigeria he spoke about in those days. So let us bury that one. And then as Christians, whether we are in Borno or we are from Kaduna or we are from wherever, begin to join faith with fellow Christians wherever they are in this country, Nigeria, and begin to chart a way forward. Yes, we'll continue to lament and continue to endure these killings because they have this belief of conquering and killing us to advance their own religion. We do not have that kind of thinking. The one thing I always propose is that there should be a balance, socio-economic, socio-political, and economic balancing, such a way that at least when they come to rule after a particular tenure, the next tenure should go to the Christians. But the way it is going now, we have seen clearly that after this Buhari, it is a abysmal performance with respect to insecurity in the nation. He has handed over to another person, hopefully, as they believe, that will take another 8 years. That is going to be 16 years. Then it will now go back, and we all know the way it will play. That will be another stretch of 24 years. One wonders whether we will still be allowed to really serve God in our churches within this period if we are not overrun. So this is not the time to be talking of whatever Gowon did then or whatever. What we should be talking about, this is what has affected us. Let us come together, forgive ourselves, and
thank you so much, Mr. Joshua Agbado. Mr. Alex Mana, can we have your thought on this? Dr. Augustine, you are back. Dr. Alex Mana, please, let's have your thought. Why Dr. Augustine, hold on, left at the time. I will take you now after Dr. Alex Mana. Ayo Ademili, please hold on to. Alex Mana, can we have your...
Yeah, I've unmuted my mic. I do hope that I'm being heard clearly. I don't know.
You are being heard quite clearly. You have just 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, moderator. Let me thank my junior brother, Sam, for the clarity and direction that he brought over the killings in Southern Kaduna. I also want to buttress the rampant issue about how we were trained before in the north, or let's say the middle belt. Before the advent of politics and politics of rubbish that all these jihadists brought into our region, we had no cause to stay with our brothers. As I speak to you, I can speak full to you if you can hear full the Minana full they shut down.
Please, Doctor, sorry.
Dr.
Dr. Ademuli, please. Can you and Dr. Agogwa, please, can you just mute yourself for a moment?
Yeah, I've unmuted myself.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Mana.
Okay. I said I was talking that before the advent of the jihadists that came as politicians to rule over us. And they came with their agenda that they have been trying to bring into the Middle Belt for quite some time, which the present leadership has given them the go-ahead to do from beginning to the end. What I mean is that everywhere around the country, that's what they have come to implement. The ones that they didn't do to our parents in those days, they want to bring it back now. And they have been given that space to do what they are doing. And like Rampan said, we were living together in peace. I can speak full day for you. I can write a dictionary in Fulani. And it's because we were living together, that is why I was able to have the opportunity to speak their language. And the Fulani people can speak my language completely. But these very same Fulani are not the ones that are doing it. They have imported Fulanis to come and kill us with the knowledge of those ones that are there to give them direction. And what did I say? The governors that are all within this, it's a plan that, it's a game plan that was being hatched right before time. And it is now time for them to do it now. That's why they are doing it. Just like my brother said, that within the space of 1 or 2 kilometers, killings were going on, and you have soldiers stationed in a place, and yet no one person was arrested. And they killed more than 500,000 people from our place since this nonsense started in 1992. And it's still going on now with this very present regime. This is the height of it. And nobody has done nothing about it. And every day we keep, when they find out that the issues are coming, they'll go back to the south or to the east and bring issues. What is the issue of Gowon going there as a Christian to preach to people to continue to pray for Nigeria will bring about somebody saying that Gowon shouldn't be allowed? These are distractions by the same people like Dr. Tony has said.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alex. Beautiful landing you are giving us. This old job coming from PDP, Abia State, and IPOB, they are nothing other than mere distraction. Dr. Augustine Agugwa.
Mr. Honorable Moderator.
Please, louder.
Yeah, I also appreciate the viewpoints and
Dr. Augustine, can you speak close to your mic? We are not hearing you.
Okay, I hear me. Hello. I can hear you now.
Hear you. There's a lot of interference.
We are not hearing you.
Okay, can we take Barrister Ayoademi Louis, please? Unmute your mic and let's start your talk. We'll come back to Dr. Augustine when his reception is better. Barrister Ayoademi Louis, please.
Okay, I really appreciate the opportunity to address this August. I think the theme of this virtual meeting was quite very timely in the life of our country. The demand of General Gowon, demand apology, is not just a demand on Nigeria. It's a demand on a generation that was responsible for massacre of genocidal massacre of millions of young people at a particular point in our history. Now, I think this conversation is about also about justice, because almost all the events that happened like 1967 to 1970 also happening in today's Nigeria. Less than 3 weeks ago, we had gubernatorial election, which was affected a whole lot of ethnic profiling. Actually, tribe was profiled In fact, we had Igbo-phobic ethnic phobia. That now, General Gowon represents a very dark place. I would say only the entire Nigerian apology at that level to redress that AGM growth at that level. But it's not just about Gowon. That is the truth. There are still many people apart from Gowon living life and who are walking the streets of Nigeria who themselves are criminals, war criminals in that war. Number one is General Olusegun Obasanjo James, who we all know was responsible for the handover of including second division. Like a whole lot of post of evidence is not of their names. We are on the movement for justice.
Hello. Sorry, I have to hurt you. Can we be mature? Can we be mature? If you are not speaking, can you mute your mic? If you are not speaking, can you mute your mic? The whole place is clumsy and we are not hearing like what the persons are bringing forward. If you don't have the floor, can you mute your mic so that we can have clarity? James, can you please mute your mic? If you are not, some of us seem to be watching television and we still have our mic on. It's quite embarrassing. Please, let's mute our mic.
James Moses, please help us.
To speak, you can on your mic.
Continue. We can continue now.
Okay, sorry. Let me move to some other persons in the house so that we can take it quickly and then have Pastor. Sorry,
like my last point, sir. Just 1 minute. My last point, sir. One last point. And that's the point about the fact that this apology must also be mutual across board, across both tribal, religious, and other affiliated things. That's the last point. I want to fight for that issue. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Barrister. You are David Louis. Can we have James Mose? Your hand is up. James Mose, can we have you quickly? Okay, James Mose is completely out. Can we have Samuel Archer?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
Thank you very much. I really want to comment on the issue of this Yakubu Gowon. You see, let's be very sincere to ourselves. As long as we are talking in the Christian view, there is nothing wrong in saying I am sorry for whatsoever, if that would bring understanding and peace within ourselves. But I also don't want us to forget that the average Northerner, of course I'm a Northerner, and the average Hausa Fulani Northerner believe that they have always have willing tools in the Igbo race. And that is why anytime they want to perpetrate anything that will bring disunity in the Middle Belt, they quickly go to the Igbo race because they know among them they have those they can actually pay their way to do things that will now look as if the Middle Belt is not together. For God's sake, in the whole of this setting, where have you ever, in all the things that are happening under the very control and the nose of northern leaders, you have had anybody from the north come out to say that Buhari should not step to their own land? So we have to be very careful. And we have to actually give a very thoughtful thought on these issues. There are times that these issues, when they come, we should find a way of talking it amicably as Christians. There are channels we communicate as fellow people of the same faith. But if you now begin to say that your brother, a fellow Christian, should not step to their ground, not for campaigns, not for market, not for business, but to come and pray for the peace and unity of the region. And you are now saying no because he supervised killings. And I want to thank Dr. Konko for doing justice to what is actually being. If you are now seeing Gowon as the person that was responsible for the killings of the Igbos during the Biafra, what do you now say about the sons and daughters of Biafra that actually aided the killings? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Arche. I want to give the floor over to Cynthia to give its wrap-up thoughts, but I will want to say this. Do we even know the direction that His Excellency Dr. Yakubu Gowon will be going when he gets to Abia State? Supposing forgiveness, asking for forgiveness will be the beginning of his speech and thoughts. I think my brother Samuel actually wrapped it up quite intelligently. How do you say a Christian should not come to pray? If it's for any other reason, maybe it will make sense. But for people who call themselves Christians, to stop a Christian from coming to their place to pray is quite unfortunate. It is embarrassing to what the Southeast represents. And I think I want to agree with you and Dr. Tony in that regard. Cynthia, can I have your thought on this before I give the floor to Dr. Tony? Your wrap-up thought, Cynthia?
Okay. I think Prince Odo, can we? Prince Odo, are you raising your hand?
He was clapping.
Okay, he was clapping. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Cynthia, yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Well, now we have Odo, Prince Odo speaking. Hello, Prince Odo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. I am Prince Odo, not Odo. I am Odo, not Odo.
Okay, Prince Odo.
So having said that, I'm Odo. I want to point out 3 fundamental issues concerning the Odo. Yes. I want to point out 3 fundamental issues which must be considered before I say the final one. First is the value issues. Our values are inauthentic. You cannot live in inauthentic values and not have problems. So we have to do something about the values to revive the good old values. That is number 1. Number 2 is we don't operate on cause-effect relationship so that we look for first causes and remove first causes. We deal with effects. What the one is going to do is dealing with effect. It's not dealing with the cause. We should be dealing with causes, go back to the first cause, remove the first cause, and the problem will be solved naturally. The third thing I want to say is we are so permissive. Permissiveness is a worse crime than an actual crime. We take advantage of our permissiveness to perpetrate crime, they beg for pardon, they return and commit the same crime because they know who permit. These are fundamental issues I want to raise here. On this ground, I object to going there to pray. This is not praying. What is he doing about the problems on the ground? James Gospel says, not only faith, but good works. Good works must go with faith. I'm a Catholic, a convinced Catholic. In Catholic Church, there is penance. When the priest absolves you, he gives you penance. And you must go on and do your penance. The one must do some penance. That's what I'm saying. He must do some penance before he goes to anywhere to pray. He must operate, as James says, good works. Not only faith, but good works. These are my points.
Thank you so much, Prince. Now, Cynthia, can you wrap it up before Dr. Tony will take over?
Well, if you're asking my thoughts, I personally believe that it's not about coming to come and pray because he's a political person, he cannot separate himself from his political career. So if he's going to come and pray, then he should also do something, for the state or for the country, and offer that public apology or not. If for whoever will say that he needs to apologize, I think that he should do that and also back it up with some action. So because his spokesperson, after they canceled the prayer, said that it was he just wanted to pray, that they did not want to make any political move or anything. But I don't believe that should have been the right move to make. He should have done something about it. He should back up his prayer with actions, because prayer without works is just words. So that is what I personally believe.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. To the historian in the house, the custodian of vital information, astute as ever, Dr. Tony Nwako, can we have you wrap it up before we call it a day?
Okay, I agree partly with Odo. Is it Odo? Am I right? Okay, it's
Odo. You are right, sir. You are right, sir.
And disagree partly with him. I agree partly with our anchor, our co-anchor Cynthia, and I disagree partly with her. First, from Cynthia, let me say that the issue on ground before us is solution, impact, and solution. What impact are you giving? And what solution is expected from impact you exerted? Will Gowon's apology provide any impact to the intractable problem we're having today in Nigeria? Secondly, is Abia State the first place Gowon had come to pray in the Southeast? So why should Abia? Gowon has virtually prayed in every state of the Southeast since the inception of his Nigeria praise, of which the Southeast has been active participants. Why should this Abia own, throw up some questions? That's the issue. If it is not meant for, for political conspiracy. Secondly, Odo was saying, yes, we need impartation. But as I always said, the problem with Nigeria is the docility of the Christian leadership, who are only interested in collecting their tithes, offerings, and then riding jets. And as I've said, before the war, before the Russia-Ukraine war, the biggest Pentecostal church in Ukraine was owned by a Nigerian, a Yoruba man. This man is here right away in Nigeria now, trying to struggle to survive. He abandoned his church. So when the crisis comes, all these people, all these mega church will abandon. They can only flee with one private jet, and maybe they will not be able to sell it in their place of exit. So we are problem our Christian leaders. If our Christian, look, let me tell you, if Muslims are killed 100 I mean, 1/100. The way Christians are being killed in this country, the Muslim, this country, Nigeria will remain ungovernable. And I want to tell us today that this crisis of clean Christians, left, right, and center, east, west, north, and east, will stop the day the Christians of this country will march out beyond dominational differences, march out on the streets of Nigeria. Let us see how many Christians the Fulani Janjaweed will kill. How many Christians the police, the army, the navy will kill. If all the members of Redeemed Christian Church of God, Adeboye is not talking, I don't know the reason. If all the Christians of Deeper Life, Kumu is not talking, I don't understand. Adeko is not talking. Mountain of Fire is not. Okoko is not talking. The man of choosing is not talking. You're telling us choosing, Christ choosing. Are we choosing to die? It's like our choice is to die. Yes, Oyedepo, Bishop Oyedepo has been talking. His talk should also go by action. The Roman Catholics, the Anglicans, we have an indolent Christian Association of Nigeria since Ayo Orisejefo left. And mark you, Ayo Orisejefo was even blackmailed more by his Christian, co-Christian leaders than the Muslims. So what is can? We have seen Christians, pastors, being beheaded, and we were confronted with the videos. We see them, we witness them, we say, oh, we condemn, and they continue killing because they know that we are indolent, we are lazy, we are careless, we don't care about our people. We were told about why the hawk the hawk, you understand, does not carry foul. I don't want to say, go into it because it may be at variance at what we are saying. But what I'm trying to say is that this is time for action. We don't know because I can't understand. A pastor, we saw it, they beheaded him, and some of these people who did it, when they are caught, arrested, or when they denounce, they say they are forgiving them. Oh, repentant Boko Haram.
Godwin Chukwukeze, can you please mute your mic? Godwin Chukwukeze, can you please mute your mic? You are disrupting the house. Okay, Dr. Tony, you have the floor and you can round up.
Please, for Christ's sake. We're not talking of obedience. We're not talking of Nigeria. We're talking about a country where Christians are majority, demographically, statistically. And then we have a small group of Muslims utilizing the docility and division of Christians and suppressing us. We are talking about Muslim ticket. We have seen it. Muslim president, Muslim vice president in a country where Christians are majority. In a country where Christians have the largest, have the larger number of governors, larger number of states, larger number of deputy governors. And we're seeing it. And we're sitting down. We're praying, for God's sake. Jesus Christ did not pray always.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, sir. Before I bring up before I wrap up my thoughts, I want us to understand the dynamics of what is going on and how these distractions are orchestrated. Our nation, Nigeria, is a masquerade nation, a nation where a lot of things are done behind the scene to achieve a particular aim. The central ideology or the central masquerade ideology is playing out as Boko Haram, playing out as bandits, playing out as kidnappers, playing out as IPOB in the Southeast, playing out as unknown gunmen in the southeast. At the stage, it was playing out as the Yoruba nation, whatever, in the southwest. These were part of the same scripts to advance the cause that me and you are today confronted with, the Muslim tickets. It is just about time that we begin to see through the decorations of this masquerade and be able to identify persons, movement, and political parties that are behind it. But that will not be possible except we become discerning in our approach to national issues and learn to put our faith first before any other thing. I take Rampam. I can see that your hand is up. Madam Ina from the USA, I saw your hand up a little while ago. We can just have a minute each. So let's take the ladies first. Madam Ina from the US.
I'll meet you, okay?
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
My name is Sunana Wana. And I don't even know where to start from. Is it the Gowon issue? Is it the Christian situation? I think I want to just go straight to the Christian situation. How did we arrive at having a Muslim ticket? It's already too late. We should not even have allowed it. And that's why I have a problem with the Christian leaders. Why did they allow it to get to this point? And everybody is silent. It's so disheartening. Everybody is silent. But it didn't start today. I lost respect for the vice president of Shibaju 2 years into their reign, when the killings was way out of hand. He couldn't even make a speech. Nobody heard anything from him. He's inside there. He should be, and he claims he's a pastor. I want to understand. I mean, why? How did we get here? Okay, it's happened. Nobody is even still. They're allowing youths to be killed. They should come out and be killed. Adeboye, all of them, they should come out, lead a protest and be killed. Let them be martyrs. But they're not doing it. Now we're talking. It's already happened.
Thank you, Madam Inena. Can we have one palm on this, please?
Thank you.
One palm, just a minute before 10:30 p.m. So let's have you quickly.
Okay. First of all, thank Madam Inena for that contribution. Secondly, I would like to say that the time we have for this meeting is not doing justice to the meeting. And we have two very tough issues, the apology as well as the massacre of our people that is going on, like my brother from Kaduna State said, as we are speaking, they are killing. So we need to meet again. To wrap up on the issue of Gowon, my simple take is this: the death of millions of Nigerians should not be the responsibility of one person to apologize. It should be the state, the nation itself, at the appropriate time. Right now, we want to have a government that can hear us. And bringing up that issue at this point, even on the platform of prayer, is disheartening. It is comparable to when you have a rat eating food from your store You go to kill the rat, and then you see a viper in the same store, and you ignore the viper and you start pursuing the rat. That is a clear definition of insanity. Let us have a government that is stable. Then we now go into talking for reconciliation, apologies. Please, if it's possible, let's reschedule this meeting for a time that we can discuss issues like the killing in details. Because there are some people I've invited here and they have not spoken. My apologies to you, Dr. Moses James from Benue State. You wanted to really speak about the 300 people that have been killed in 2 weeks and it's still going on. So I plead with the House, if it's possible, for us to reschedule this meeting, even if it is within the week, since it is evening time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Rampam. I think with this case you have made with some of the other past people that we have in the House, Engineer Stephen Kim, Dr. James Moses from Benue, and Mrs. Saluna Saleh, who is based in Mango. I think we have to reschedule this meeting. It's of necessity that the meeting should be.
Thank you.
We want to suggest that we look at the possibility of converging on Tuesday night. If same time it's comfortable for us, that would be great. We'll just be talking about the killing in that meeting and not the apology. Now, on the apology, I want to wrap it up this way. In the recitals that goes on across the length and breadth of this country in all our primary schools, is always state and capital. Then you hear Abia, Umahia, meaning that the beginning of recounting what God will do in the nation, we start from Abia State. Abia State for me is the alpha point of whatever God will do in this season. Could it be a coincidence that Abia State is the only state where you have a governor elected on the platform of Labour Party in the person of Alex Oti, and who is taking the giant necessary stride of saying, let us start with prayer and let that prayer come be led by General Yakubu Gowon. For me, is the right step in the right direction. And we pray that the Lord will bless and hear the prayer that will be said in Abia State for the nation, and let it be the beginning of beautiful moment and memories for our children. Having said that, please, Tuesday, same time, we will be talking about the killings that are going on in the Middle Belt and what we need to do as a people. From me here, it's a very wonderful day, and God bless each and every one of us.
Thank you so much, and bye,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you.
Good night.